Hi, welcome back to Little Mountain Mama. My name's Chelsea and we've been doing a 12 recipes of Christmas. I fell off the earth for a little bit, but I'm back. And this recipe is for a buttermilk pie and a butter crust. So I started out by making the crust, and to do that I needed 2.5 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of sugar, 1 cup of very cold butter or 2 sticks of very cold butter, and 4 to 8 tablespoons of ice water. And you're going to refrigerate your crust for an hour before you ever roll it out. So be prepared for that in advance. And so what you're going to start out with is your 2.5 cups of flour, your salt, and then you're going to take, I ended up having to substitute my sugar with honey because I ran out of sugar making all the sweets for Christmas time. But it turned out just as good. So I just take my hands. If you have a dough cutter, then that's great. I don't have one, so I just use my hands. I make sure that they are washed before I do anything. Don't worry. But I just work all that butter together as quickly as I can because the warmer it is, you want cold butter for a reason. So I just work that together until it forms like a crumbly, I don't know, just like a crumbly dough. Once you've got it kind of crumbly, you'll add your 4 to 8 tablespoons of ice water. Add 4 tablespoons first. Work that in, kind of knead it together until your dough will get kind of sticky. You want it to start sticking together. And then if it's still kind of falling apart, you'll add another tablespoon at a time until it, forms a ball. Whenever it gets to the right consistency, you'll dump it out on a floured surface and get ready to kind of knead it a little bit more, and then you will make it in kind of a round disc and put it in saran wrap and pop it in your fridge for an hour until it sets. Now, while I'm letting my dough chill out for an hour, I go ahead and I start making my fill for my buttermilk pie. And all you need for that is 4 tablespoons of flour, 1 3/4 cup of sugar, or I use the same with honey, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a 1/3 cup of melted butter, 3 eggs, 1 cup of buttermilk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and then the seasonings of your choice. I use nutmeg, And I use a half a capful of lemon juice. You can use lemon zest, but I think it just adds a nice pop to it. Okay, so once I get this all mixed together, I set it to the side, and after my hour's up, I pull my dough out, and I don't know what's happened to my rolling pin, so I use any round cup that I think I can use. I used a Yeti style cup for this rolling adventure. That was my rolling pin for the day. And it worked out just fine. Wasn't perfect, but hey, it did what I needed it to do. As I roll, my crust kind of wanted to break apart around the edges, and so anytime I seen it doing that, I would just kind of pinch those seams back together and continue rolling. I would stop when I needed to pinch, roll again. And I did this until I thought that my crust was large enough to fit in my pie plate. Once I got that to about the size I wanted it, I stuck it in my pie plate and I pressed it down around the edge, well, in the middle and then around the edges, trying not to rip my crust. And then I took a knife and trimmed the excess off the edges. Once that was trimmed off to my liking, I took my fingers and I created like a little, I don't know, a little indented ridge at the top, like a store-bought pie crust, so you could tell I was legitimate. Once that was done, I took 2 pieces of aluminum foil. I took the first piece and I pressed it down firmly to the bottom of my pie plate into my crust, and then I pushed around the edges and got it all pressed in well. And then I poured a 1-pound bag of rice in there to help hold my crust down while it's baking, because I'm doing I guess blind bake is what it's called. I put it in the oven at 400 degrees. And then I pulled it back out after probably about 10 minutes or so, and I took a fork and just pricked all around the bottom and around the edges, like the inner edges against the wall of the pie. And I stuck it back in the oven at 400 degrees and let it finish baking through. Now, if you're happy with your crust the way it looks around the edges, you can do what they call tinting. I don't do this personally. but some people swear by it. I just popped mine back in the oven and I waited until it was done. After about, I don't know, 10 more minutes, I pulled it out and this is what it looked like. I poured the fill of my pie back into the pie crust and baked at 350 until the inside of it was jiggly, not runny. The way to know that this is done, it'll be puffed up in the middle. Don't worry, that will set whenever you pull it out. It should be jiggly, not sloshy in the middle, and that's how you know your pie's done. Well, this wraps up our recipe number 11, I believe it is. I hope you all enjoy it. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. Thanks for stopping by. Have a blessed day.